and it becomes like a big episode of Mean Girls or something, I guess. I don't know. Or what was it? You not You Got Served, that one with Gabrielle. Anybody remember that movie with Gabrielle Union? Bring It. Yeah, Bring It. Yeah. So you get the queen bees and everybody trying to show off and stuff like that. And yeah, and if you read enough about human nature and animals and stuff, you'll know that basically these are like mating calls, kind of, in a way. Like they're like the boys have their little rites of passage, like we'll all compete in a football game so we can be the alpha, and then the women compete in their own way as well. So everybody's out there peacocking and trying to be the mean girl, trying to be the big dog, trying to be the winner, trying to be whatever, right? And so anyway, I wanted to talk about a financial um, topic that I think would be of interest to a lot of you that have ever had to do any kind of negotiation. A lot of studies show that, for example, when women go negotiate for things like new cars and stuff like that, they end up being charged the highest price. A lot of you may negotiate for a raise on your job, or you may negotiate in a business deal, or if you are a parent, you may be in constant negotiations with your kids, so you can avoid World War III and all the other problems that come when people don't do what you tell them, and then you got to just go in there and smack the hell out of everybody, or cuss everybody out, or not that any of us would ever do, not that any of us would ever do those things, not that you've ever smacked anybody, not that you've ever cussed anybody out. And my wife is in the background saying, "No, no, boys, we don't do that, boys. That's not peaceful parenting, boys." Because she has some hippie parents. My parents, my mama came in there with that belt. When I heard that belt jingling, I that was a horror story. But of course, the Gen Xers, we were all abused, right? We all went through hell. But then again, we gotta admit that's why these little Gen Zs and Gen Alphas are little wimps. Anybody ever notice how wimpy they are because they ain't never been through nothing? They some little wimps. My wife is telling me to stop it. She's shushing me. She's scolding me now. But y'all know that tell me I'm right. Tell me I'm wrong. Am I right or am I wrong? The Gen Xers, we know how we done been through some stuff. We done been Some of y'all are boomers too. Y'all really went through some stuff. So I'm sorry. Everything that's easy ain't always good for you. Everything that's bad ain't always bad for you. So you go through. In fact, I'll say this. I'll say this, and I'm not here to in any way justify abusive parenting. We don't do abuse here. There are better ways to work with your kids. I do not spank the kids at all. That's a habit, a generational curse we left in the '80s. But I will say this though. Tell me if I'm right about this. You will almost never meet a tough person who hasn't gone through tough experiences. Am I right or am I right? You will never meet a tough person who has not gone through tough experiences. So I'm not saying that you deserved whatever beating you might have got in 1985. I'm not saying that the way we were raised was perfect at all. It wasn't. There's a lot of learning to do, but but there was some strength and resilience that we picked up that the kids ain't got. Them babies can't. They gonna have a hard time in this world because the world's very competitive. The world is very difficult. The world does not love you the way your mama loves you. And so even though I wish, there were times where I probably could have used a little softer parenting, right? Sometimes you ain't got to be that mean, but at the same time, though, I feel like I was kind of built for this, right? And a lot of you were built for this, and I feel very bad for a lot of the young people who are very depressed and very sad. And it's because the world is hard and they're not ready for it. Has anybody noticed this? Has anybody seen just all the statistics about how many Gen Zers and Gen Alphas mostly? Millennials are kind of in the middle. The Gen Zs and Gen Alphas. Has anybody seen all those studies about how depressed they are? Most of them are depressed. They don't know how to survive financially. A big chunk of them. And it's going to get harder. Why is it going to get harder? Well, because you've got things like AI that are taking all the jobs from college graduates. We talked about this before, and so they're going to enter into a tough world. So I'm not here to tell you how to raise your kids, but I am here to tell you that. The world is going to be really really tough on them, and as much as we can certainly critique the use of things like corporal punishment, stuff like that. I'll say this: my grandfather, who was very old school, he was a Farrakhan guy. He's about the same age as Mr. Farrakhan. He just loved Farrakhan. He loved Malcolm X. He was that kind of guy. And he did tell my mother, which again, you can debate this. This is very debatable. Very debatable. Okay, so I want to make it clear that I'm not giving any sort of absolute truth. I'm just giving a perspective that will help us to understand the nuances of it all. But I remember him saying to my mother, he said, he said, I know you feel bad when you have to whoop him, but he said, if you don't whoop him, then a police officer will. He said, if you don't discipline him, then he's going to run into a real man out in the street. And that cop is not going to love him the way you love him. He's going to shoot your son. He's going to put him in prison. He's going to get raped and beaten in prison for many years. So you better find a way to make sure he's disciplined before he gets out here in these streets. And if you look at all these kids out here that are getting shot by the cops, getting locked up, going through horrific abuse in prison. I'm not saying it's right. We're not saying any of that's right or that they deserve it, right? It's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong, right? If you ever want to debate me about whether or not the white man's wrong about how he treats black people, you ain't got, that's not a debate because I'm going to agree with everything you say. But at the same time, there's a point where you have to say, okay, what's the best way to protect that boy? And I'm not saying that you have to whoop him, right? There's different ways to do that, but he's got to be disciplined. And a lot of these young people are not disciplined, and that's why they're getting slaughtered out here. Not just physically, I'm talking about they're getting financially slaughtered, spiritually slaughtered, etc. So anyway, that's enough. That's enough of my preaching. I'm hopping off the soapbox now. I'm 5'8", but I was probably about 6'10" just now, standing on big old tall soapboxes. So forgive me if I sound overly preachy. My name is not Pastor Boyce, so let me just put that down for a minute. All right, now moving on. What I want to hit on today are a couple things. One, I want to talk about negotiation. Um, and I'm gonna break some of that down for you. And then number two, we're gonna actually bring in a guest. Lawrence Eggleston should be here in about 15 to 20 minutes. And Lawrence is a swing trader. He does a lot of swing trading with stocks. And there's some stocks out here that are doing amazing things. I don't know. A lot of you, I assume some of you may own HIMS. Anybody own HIMS? HIMS. HIMS stock. I woke up to a pleasant little Christmas gift. HIMS stock has just blown the heck up. It's let me see. I think it's up let me see. Let me see. It's a little bit less than 50, so about 1.3% today. And I'll just tell you a little bit about this stock. This is a stock um that I have owned for a while. I use it mostly to sell options on, but I also own some shares as a long-term investor. And the stock has a lot of volatility. You see, it has like lots of hills and valleys along the way, lots of times where you might lose faith. But if you look at this stock over the last year, it's gone up almost 100% in a year. The last 6 months, it's gone up. It's doubled your money in the last 6 months. But the last month, look at that, it's red. So it had a really tough month. They had an earnings announcement that was garbage, and that stock plummeted. I have a lot of students that own it. But the last 5 days, it's gone up a little bit, and today it kind of just had a little peak. Actually, it started off peaky, a little bit less than 52. Now it's actually cooled off a little bit. But if you want to know what HIMS does, in case you're wondering about the company, I love it for options income. It's really great for that. I own a lot. I own quite a bit of it. And so HIMS, here's what they do. It's a telehealth company. They sell men and women's wellness products. Things are basically hair loss, or if you have that, that little thing that's supposed to be hard and it doesn't get hard like it used to. Mental health, skincare. Their revenue is growing really fast. They have a strong subscription model, and they tap into the rising trend of direct-to-consumer healthcare. So basically, a lot of the healthcare industry is starting to turn to direct-to-consumer. Instead of going through the doctors and through the hospitals and through the medical facilities, they're just going right to the consumer, and they're selling a lot of these things that people are going to want as they get older. And that sexual vitality is something that's very important for people, because a lot of people have dealing with aging is hard, right? And so people buy stuff to feel as young as they can. So Hims is one of those companies that does that. So the ticker symbol is HIMS. This is not investing advice, but I do own a lot of the stock, and also we'll talk more about other stocks that are great income drivers on Friday. If you're in the Prime program, we're going to meet on Friday to discuss ways that you can make money by Monday. Those of you who are not in Prime in our stock options income class, there's a 24-hour window where you can actually get discounted access to the program. So you should get a text. If you're not on the text list, make sure you are. Text the word morning to the number 87948. So text morning to 87948. Also, if you're on the email list, you should get an email that offers you a chance to join at a discounted rate for 24 hours. And then we're going to meet on Friday. And it's really effective. And if you're looking for a business you want to create that will generate income. Another thing I want to mention too, I just saw a study that said that 62% of all Americans are stock market investors, which is a growing number, which is a good number. I'm here to tell you this. I told y'all, real Black excellence lives in the building, and it's not Black excellence because you made a rap album. It's not the kind of Black excellence you get because white people put you on TV. It's not the fake Black excellence that you see in the media, where we just think that somebody's excellent because they're famous. No, the real Black excellence is those of you that are actually truly building generational wealth, making good decisions, building strong families, and loving each other. And let me say this, while 62% of all Americans are invested in the stock market, I don't know if y'all know this or not, but did you know in the Black Business School, 91% of you are stock market investors? 62% for regular people, 62% is a number that applies for white people and everybody else. But for B1 people, Black first, B1, that's what it stands for, Black first. B1 people are excellent people. And for your community, 91% of you are invested in the stock market. Why is that epic? That is a multi-trillion dollar move. That is a multi-trillion dollar move. Why is that a multi-trillion dollar move? Because every study, I mentioned this to you in the research, all the studies show that one of the best ways to predict if someone's going to be wealthy over the next 10 or 20 years is if they're consistently investing in the stock market. So all of you who are investors in the stock market, shout it out, give yourselves a pat on the back, mention a yes in the chat that you're already doing it. If you're not doing it yet, then it's easy to get started. Just go to blackwealthmasterplan.com, blackwealthmasterplan.com. It's totally free. And it's the $5 a day investing plan. I'm asking you to do two things: get started and be consistent. Get started and be consistent. And really, the third bonus thing is be assertive, be aggressive. Like, be as aggressive when it comes to building your future as you are as aggressive about getting a job working for that white man. Be as aggressive about preparing for your kids and your family as you are about building wealth for that man and his family, right? Be as aggressive about investing as you are with spending your money on Black Friday at a Walmart. Some of y'all will get in line the night before, spend the night in your car in freezing weather, and spend every last nickel at Walmart so you can get the $200 TV. I'm not even knocking that. I keep doing it. I'm not telling you to stop. I'm just telling you that the same passion that you put in to making sure that you make the Black Friday sale, I need you to also put that passion into hitting those sales that happen on the stock market. Be equally passionate with investing as you are at spending. Be as passionate about building wealth as you are at destroying wealth, right? And be as enthusiastic about putting money to the side as you are at throwing money in the toilet. Because that's what you're doing. I hate saying it like that, but that's what we're doing. When we're spending all our money, we're giving all of our wealth away, giving all of our power away. Black power and black wealth are connected. So when you see a decline in black power, it is usually connected to a decline in black wealth. Therefore, as we see the rise in black wealth, you're going to see the rise in black power. So in this space, in the B1 space, where 91% of you are stock market investors, black wealth lives. Out there in the rest of the world, black wealth is dying. Every study shows that black wealth is going to drop to zero by 2053, but they ain't talking about you. They're not talking about you. They're talking about the median. The median of African Americans, the median is the middle person. Like, if they take the whole group, half are above the number, half are below. You're in the half that's above. Do you understand? So in this space, black wealth lives, black wealth grows, black wealth thrives. This is like a greenhouse. You know how in a greenhouse, like, you could be in the middle of Antarctica, but if you got a beautiful, well-constructed greenhouse in the middle of Antarctica, you can grow damn near anything from what I understand, right? If you know what you're doing, right? So you are the economic greenhouse of the black community. You're in Antarctica, sure, sure. Wealth is dropping everywhere else because the culture is everywhere and the culture is very destructive. But in this economic greenhouse, your wealth is growing. So in this space, black wealth lives. In this space, black wealth grows. In this space, black power lives. Why? Well, because that's where black wealth lives, and where there's wealth, there is power. Most of you, as you see your wealth grow, give me a guess if you agree. Tell me. Let's be practical. Let's be real. This is not pie in the sky. I'm not. My name ain't Pastor Marley Marl. I'm not trying to give you a feel good gospel. I'm going to ask you a real question. When you see your money grow, do you feel more empowered in your life? When you wake up and you see green in your stock portfolio, do you feel like, oh gosh, I'm feeling good today? Like, do you get up and do you feel like you have a little more control over your life, that you can call a few more shots and maybe you couldn't call before, that you got some options that your broke ass cousin does not have. Do you understand? So your broke cousin who's living in the culture, they always call it the culture. You want to be down with the culture. I don't want to be down with the culture. That's a losing culture, unfortunately. I hate saying it, but it is, right? So your cousin who's down with the culture, right? He's looking fly. He got the Gucci this and the Louis that, and he's driving the Escalade and got the baby's mamas, and he's out here looking flyer than you, making fun of you because you went to school and studied and you go to class and you take care of your kids and you're not chasing women and living the crazy life. That guy that's making fun of you, his power is going down. He's feeling less empowered. You're feeling more empowered because you've actually got something that is elusive but not difficult to obtain if you understand where it comes from. You've got something called freedom. And we use the word freedom a lot as Black people, but the word freedom does not really resonate in terms of what's really required to have freedom. Freedom requires planning, strategy, discipline, sacrifice. If you don't have those things, then you'll never have freedom. Okay. Nobody's going to give it to you. White folks ain't going to give us nothing. All right. Now, let me move on. Let me give you a couple of points before Lawrence gets here. I was totally planning on jumping right into this negotiation thing, but y'all know what it is. Every morning we just get together, we just talk. I hope that's okay. All right. So let me talk about some of you have may have noticed that Donald Trump has a negotiating style that is interesting to say the least, infuriating to say the worst. Maybe you love it because you're a Trump fan. I'm not here to judge any of that. But if you recall, one thing I'll mention to you is my introduction to Trump was when I was 19 years old, and I read his book, Art of the Deal. And in this book, Art of the Deal, hey Lawrence, how you doing, man? Okay, Lawrence is coming in. So as Lawrence fixes his audio, I'm gonna finish telling you my Donald Trump story. So he has this book. He wrote this book 35 years ago called Art of the Deal. And I read this book when I was a sophomore in college. And one of the things I noticed in this book a long time ago is that Trump loves to negotiate. Like you hear him all the time saying, we're going to make a deal. We got to get a deal on the table. We're going to make a, we got to make a deal, right? Deal, 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 right? Well, here's the thing. If you wanted to summarize his negotiating style, there are experts that can break it down for you. And a few things you may notice about Trump's negotiating style. And I want to just bring this up as Lawrence gets his audio ready and everything. But take your time, Lawrence, brother, because I just want to share this story real quick. Um, a few things you should notice about his negotiating style, and I believe you can actually learn from this. So I'm gonna give you some theories to kind of back some of this up. If you can put aside the politics for a while. One, if you notice, he always starts off very extreme. He's very extreme, very bold. He makes outsized, outrageous demands. Like he'll say, we can nuke your whole country, right? He doesn't plan to do that, but which is very dangerous language anyway. You shouldn't be talking like that. But in milder cases, he may say, we're imposing a 200% tariff on your goods. And they're like, oh my God, 200%. Right. And that's kind of his style. He starts off extreme and then he brings you back to normalcy. He's what he's doing is he's setting an anchor point in the negotiation, right? So if you're thinking that, oh my God, or like back in the day, back in the 80s, when people would write bad articles about Trump, he would find the journalist and he would sue the journalist for like $100 million. And so the journalist would be like, oh my God, even though I don't think I'm going to lose this lawsuit, I don't want to be in $100 million lawsuit. So they would back off. And it sucks. I mean, to do that, right? But this is just something that he did. And you should just observe this just to know it, just as a matter of knowledge. Two, he creates urgency and chaos to push the deals further, faster. So the urgency and the chaos. Urgency, most negotiating theory tells you that time should work on your side. If you negotiate and time is in your favor, then time is an asset that you actually have. So if you negotiate for a car or a house or anything, or even for a relationship, don't ever be the person who has very little time, because if you are rushed, you're at a natural disadvantage. So if you feel like if you go buy a car, don't say, I got to get this car by tomorrow. No, you say, I can wait forever. I don't really, but then maybe with the dealer, if you know it's the end of the month and they have to meet their quota for the end of the month, then you can use time to your advantage. You can say, I don't know about you, but I got all week, I got all month, right? So time is an asset. Those of you who study stock options with us, you know that time literally has a financial value that you can put on it in the world of options. And so time really is valuable. Don't waste time. A lot of us waste money, and we think that the biggest sin financial economic sin that we commit to is wasting money. But the biggest sin actually in the Black community is wasting time, because you have that child in your house for 18 years and nobody's investing for that child. It's very easy to turn someone into a millionaire if you invest consistently in their future for 18 years. Like if you're buying $200, $300 worth of stock every month for that child from the time that they're born, they're going to be extremely wealthy by the time they're 18, 19, 20, 25 years old. And they're not going to have a financial problem ever. They're never going to have to work for anybody. Three, he uses public pressure to sort of push the deal forward. He talks loud to shape the narrative. So he's big on narratives. He likes attention. So that's one tool that he uses. He also keeps his options open. He always keeps his options open. This is really important. We talk about options a lot. We know options have value. And one thing you never want to do in a negotiation is limit your options. This is why we never get anything from the politicians. We don't get anything from the politicians because the first thing we do is we give loyalty without any sort of compensation. We step up and we say, I have no choice but to support you, and I'm going to support you no matter what. That feels good, and you think that that's going to be rewarded. But what you're really signaling is that you're in a position of weakness, that you have nowhere else to go, and which does not incentivize the other party to do right by you. And that sucks, but that's just what it is. And then there's another point I want to make here. And Lawrence, by the way, if you when you're ready, you can just pop on camera. That way I'll know you're ready. But the other one is he makes threats to walk away, and then he actually does walk away. In negotiating theory, they call that a credible threat. If you negotiate and you don't have a credible threat, then you will not be able to negotiate from a position of strength. Anybody who negotiates without having options or a plan B or the willingness and ability to make a threat and pursue it, like you pull out a gun and you're not ready to squeeze the trigger, then you should put the gun back in your pocket, because negotiating theory basically says that you're not going to be taken seriously. So if you're negotiating with your boss, and I'm gonna make this point before I introduce our guest. If you're negotiating with your boss, your boyfriend, the car dealer, and you make a threat and you say, "Hey, if I don't get what I want, then I could walk away." If they know that you're not serious, if they know you're really not going to do that, then typically in most cases they're not going to change their behavior. But if you ever want to shift their behavior, what you do is you send some what they call a signal, a credible signal that you are willing to walk away. So, for example, if the person you're dating is not treating you right and they won't change their behavior, then maybe you send a signal. Maybe you pack your bags and you move into your mama's house, right? then they know, like, oh wow, he's serious, she's serious, right? And so ultimately a credible threat is critical when it comes to negotiation. So this is one of the reasons why, and I lose a lot of friends in politics, but I have to speak my truth on this, that if we want to get more out of the politicians that we support, you have to show that you're willing to walk away from the table, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's painful. You cannot operate sort of in a position of limited options and extreme fear, because unfortunately, in negotiation, people will use that against you. Same thing. If you want your boss to know what you're worth, if your boss is paying you 50,000 and you know you're worth 70, you could, and let's say you come in and you tell them, hey, I'm really worth 70. I'd like to get something closer to my worth, and they ignore you, then all you do is you go find somebody willing to pay you 70, get them to make you an offer, and then you take the offer, put it on your boss's desk, and say, here is credible proof that I'm worth 70, and I'm going to walk away if you don't make an adjustment. And I guarantee you'll be taken much more seriously. Does that make sense? Does everybody get that? Okay, and I hope I'm not going to get yelled at with people thinking I'm a Trump supporter or something. And by the way, it really wouldn't matter who I support, because at the end of the day, you're a free American. You can vote for whoever you want. And all that bullying, I don't like none of that. So anyway, without further ado, let me bring in my brother, Mr. Lawrence Eggleston. I think he's called the Panther. Is that right, Lawrence? Is that your nickname?
Yeah,
I think I
it's
think
my
you're
name.
muted. There he is.
Yes,
There he is.
yeah,
Is that your nickname?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's been my nickname for I feel like probably about like 4 or 5 years now. So yeah,
Okay, okay. Well, I got the Panther behind me, so you're in the
for
right
sure,
place, man.
for
Yeah,
sure. You
yeah,
see
okay.
that,
Yeah, man, that's great. Okay, so Lawrence the Panther Eggleston. How you doing, man? How you been?
man. I'm blessed, brother. How about yourself? Good to see you. Looking healthy,
Oh, it's great
alive,
to
well.
yeah, man. Great to see you as well, brother. Let me tell y'all, I really, really have a lot of respect and appreciation for Lawrence. Lawrence, I brought him in here before, And Lawrence, he's been around. He's done a lot of great stuff in a lot of places, and he's young. What are you? 23, 24?
25.
25. Okay, so he's 25 years old, and he's doing a lot of stuff involving uh, various types of stock trading, particularly swing trading. Did I say that? Is that accurate in terms of
Yes,
describing what
sir.
you do? Yes, sir. Okay, and he's good at it. And so Lawrence, let me ask you this. Let's just start from the beginning. For those who don't know, how did you even get into active investing at such an early age? Because you've been doing it since you were a teenager, right? Like, didn't you like have a lot? You had a lot of money in high school, right? Tell me about that.
I started at about 16 years old. So 16 was pretty much my starting point. The reason why I started at 16, I grew up in a single parent household. So I had my mom, my two little sisters. So they was really always my why. I wanted to be able to assist and help my mom out, but also become self-sufficient. One of the things that I realized at a young age, there's a lot of distractions, right? 14, 15, 16-year-old men, when sometimes you're in that single parent household, you don't always have that direction that you should have, and you can get distracted really quickly. So I spent a lot of time at the barbershop. So someone's going to ask, how did all of these things correlate? I went to the barbershop because I really seek mentorship, right? That was important to me at a young age, was seeking mentorship and mentorship from the right areas. So, in the barbershop, you're going to see everyone from the professional man to the guy who probably aged out at high school, has been doing things he shouldn't be doing. So you kind of get that, you kind of see what area you should go left or what area you're going to go right. And so you're really left with two choices. And so to me, it was a lot of men in there that was pouring into me, providing a lot of context and value. And the reason why I started trading and investing was I fell into it because of my economics teacher, Mr. Postel. He challenged me. He said, man, take a look at economics, from a worldwide perspective. Every economy that I studied, whether I went to, Asia, whether I went to Europe, the wealthiest people either invested in stocks or real estate. So when I was studying, taking a look at the FTSE, taking a look at the DAX, taking a look at some of the European markets, taking a look at the Australian markets, taking a look at China, right? Taking a look at Japan, all the wealthiest individuals here in the United States, they invested in stocks, right? They invested in real estate. So stocks was attractive to me because I was already utilizing these companies on an everyday basis. But then I realized, I said, yo, how much money am I making from this? Right? Like I'm quick to want to go to the Nike store once I get my check, right, from the restaurant job. I was working two jobs at the time. Worked my first job at 15, got a second job at 17 because I was hungry. And I just realized, I said, man, if I just keep taking this money back to these corporations, what benefit is that really doing for me and my bloodline? So that's what got me into trading and investing. It became lucrative for me. I was able to pretty much become a full-time, trader and investor pretty much when I was like 18, about to be 19. So I've been doing it this whole time going on now. It'll be 7 years. So I turned 26 in October. So this is like my passion, my love. Like I got a love for this because this genuinely changed my life. And it's a liberating feeling. And I have a passion to really teach others at a high level, right? Which I've done over the past 5 years, is been able to really teach people at a high level. And that's just really my story and how I really got started, trading and investing. So yeah.
Mm. So let me ask you this: when's your birthday? October what?
October 12th.
Wow, that's crazy. I was, yeah, I don't know. I was curious because my parents' anniversary is October 19th, so it's a week later. And I don't know. I always look for those little connections, but that's amazing. I don't know. I assume everybody else in here agrees that that what you did was very insightful and very thoughtful and intelligent, and I think understanding your why, like just the fact when you told me about your mom and two little sisters, I see that as like the booster to your rocket engine. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like you're the older brother, and
Yeah.
and you love your mama, and it's like okay, now I got to go make this happen, right? That's going to turn on the warrior. And then also what I like about what you said is when you talked about seeking that mentorship, which I think is natural, but unfortunately, in some cases. Either we try to do it ourselves and we don't want to listen to anybody, or we're listening to the wrong people.
Hmm.
You have a lot of bad mentorship. Sometimes it can happen,
Yeah.
and I'm really happy that you were exposed to a diverse set of mentors that could that really genuinely cared about you, right? Because I learned a lot from uncles and stuff who would just say, "Don't do what I did." You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So that's powerful. I had a lot
Hmm.
of the drug addicts, and both in fact both of my fathers were on drugs. Both of them got caught with heroin. My stepfather and my father. My stepfather just kicked the habit. He walked away from it, but the other one didn't. And so it's hard. It's hard kind of navigating and figuring that out. And it seems to me that you figured out something really powerful, that your economic security, that it was up to you, that it was very important, and that
Hmm.
investing was the best way to acquire that. So you're on this investing journey. So tell me about what that was like in high school in terms of just those first exposures when you were 16, 17. Like, what did your investing and trading and everything look like back then versus what it
Hmm.
looks like now? I know now you got a sophisticated operation. You work with the great guys that earn your leisure and stuff like that. But what did it look like in high school for you in terms of how it
Hmm.
evolved into what it is now?
Yeah, so what it looked like honestly in high school was I was getting ready to graduate high school early, so I had like a free period towards the end of the day. So instead of, me jumping and, leaving school early or getting into things I shouldn't be getting into, I just decided to buckle down. I had my laptop and I started reading on Investopedia. So Investopedia was one of the main resources that I would spend a lot of time, as well as my freshman year of college, my first semester. Like outside of like classes, I really didn't leave my room like that unless I had to go to work. I was still working two jobs. So it was like I created a routine and a regimen that made sense for me. So what I tried to do was focus on investing 70 to 75% of my income at the time. So I knew like I'm always been a number guy, right? So I knew what I was expecting to, bring in each month. Between the two jobs, I was making between like 1,800 to 2,200 as far as bills wise at the time that I had to take care of. I had like maybe $400 to $500 a month worth of bills at the time, a couple bills that I need to handle here and there. What I focused on though was taking the rest of that income and being able to invest it early, right? So what I really preached to, a lot of my young men and just young individuals in general, while you don't have the necessarily requirements of being a, grown adult, too early, you got a lot of those requirements, sometimes a little if you can really budget. That's why it made me get the second job. It's like, okay, this one job I'm making like 800 to $1,000 a month, but I knew if I got that second job, that how that could supplement. And some people talk about time, but to me, you got all the time in the world at 17, 18 years old. You know what I mean? You got all the time in the world. It's about the time you want to make it. How bad do you really want it at that point? So I was really hungry for success.
Mhm.
So I kind of did those calculations and said, okay, well, if I can take the rest of this money and invest it in names like Shopify, which I was an early investor in Shopify. If I could invest this name in, invest in names like Tesla, ticker XYZ Square, which formerly known as Square, right? If I was able to invest in these names early, I just knew that some of those names will blow because I was already one, either using them from a consumer standpoint, or two, I understood their business models. So that's where like Investopedia came in early because as a young man, you don't know what a PE ratio is. You like, what's a PE ratio? Right. So you're learning these things, but like I was a scholar. I like those numbers, right? Like I'm a numbers guy and I'm really analytical. So I like to read this information and this is important to know. So what really tapped me into the market was just saying, okay, well, now I can also leverage this money to be able to make me money more so in a shorter term, right? So not really day trading, but I would notice that there were stocks that would sometimes trend for like 3, 4 months in a row. I'm like, that's what turned me on to options, right? So when I first got into options trading, I was like 18 years old. I had been in the market for about 2 years, just buying and hope my first investments were things like VOO, VTI. I was buying long-term ETFs, a couple of individual stocks. But then I started to learn the technical analysis aspect, right? So the technicals and the fundamentals side. So I have a three-step process anytime I'm taking a trade. I got to have something fundamentally technical, right? And then after I had that fundamental and technical, now combining that with my thesis, right? So what is my thesis? So I formulate a thesis After I take a look at the fundamentals and the technicals, and now I formulate a thesis on whether I'm bullish or bearish on a specific position. So that was really how I got into
Mm.
the trading. Now the question is, how does it look different from then versus now? Um, it's just the ability to be able to scale. Once you do something for an extended period of time, you're only going to get better. One of the things that I realized, this is in life, this is life in general, or this is like anything that you do. A lot of times people quit after 3 months. Oh man, I'm gonna go to the gym. I want to lose weight. They stop after 3 months. Oh man, I want to be a trader or I want to be an investor, but they stop after 3 months, right? There's so many people that sometimes they don't even make it to that 3 months. They make it to the 1 month point. They're like, I'm going to cancel. I'm going to quit. In order to be successful in anything in life, it takes time. So I respect platforms like your platform because you're really teaching people about the timeline thing. There's a lot of people that saying, hey, this is no, this is not quick. This takes time. This is compound growth. So
Yes.
compound growth, whether in your account, also your understanding. There's things that in year one, year two, that I'm speaking about right now that I didn't really grasp wholeheartedly until year three, year four, right? Not with, because I really didn't have a ton. I wish I would have had a Dr. Boyce, right, to be teaching me, investing at that time. I've seen a few of your videos back in the day, but like just that in person, and just feel like, Zooms like this, we're far and few between, right? Like what we're on right now. And so, I was, like I said, I was always hungry for success, and I don't make excuses. For me, I've always had the mindset that, hey, I'd rather attempt and fail, right, than not attempt, not take the shot, and never know. So that's always been
Yes.
my drive. Even when sometimes there's going to be times where you may lose on a trade or there may be an investment that doesn't go your way. But the reason why I love this game is because there's always another opportunity, right? And so
Mm.
that's the way I really prepare, like mentally, right? I never get too high off a high, but I also never get too low off a low. And I can tell you that there's going to be some points in life, sometimes in the market, there's going to be some low points, but how you respond to those low points is ultimately what makes you. You get what I'm saying? So yeah.
Mm. Wow, wow. So this is I love everything that you're saying because first of all it's true and also it's interesting because some people would think and by the way I'm speaking to Lawrence Eggleston, aka the Panther, who's a great swing trader and a good brother, very intelligent. Some people would think that you like they. I don't know if you've gone through this or not, but
Mhm.
first of all, let me ask you: where'd you go to college?
Yeah, so I went to college here at Clayton State University here in Atlanta. So it's right down the
Clayton
street
State.
from, yeah, Clayton State. Yeah.
Okay. And I wonder if you had a lot of experiences where people sort of felt like you were different, right?
Hmm.
Because you were so dedicated and you would spend your time in your dorm room working on your long-term goals and stuff like that. And and I'm gonna go ahead and just guess this, and please correct me after I make this little short statement. Um, I'm gonna guess that you had people that sort of felt like you were different and then maybe people even your own age group who maybe you know weren't sure why you chose to do things the way you did it. Like why are you in your room all day when you could be out doing this and doing that and the other, right? Like you said, a lot
Hmm.
of distractions, stuff like that.
Hmm.
And the only reason I'm guessing that is because I went through that experience when I would study 8, 9, 10 hours a day. Nobody understood why. I understood why. Other people didn't. But here's the thing: what's interesting is what you did, it really isn't that different from what millions of other young black men are doing. A big difference is that many of us might do that. Like we understand when a guy does that when it comes to like basketball or football. Like we understand why a football player is gonna do
Hmm.
2-a-day practices in 100-degree heat. We know
Yeah.
why the basketball player is gonna shoot 400 jumpers in the gym and run every drill. We
Hmm.
even understand also why another man might be at the corporate plantation 8, 9, 10 hours a day. That's dedication, right? Like, I don't think there's anything we've been more dedicated to than serving white folks in their companies, right? You get that job, it's a good paying job. You work your ass off all day. You come home, you're exhausted, you're funky, you're tired, you rest just long enough for you to get up and go back to work the next day. we're very hardworking people, right? So what I like about your approach though is that you also, like all these other categories we described, are a hardworking person that has that long-term vision. The difference is that your return on investment is going to just be much higher. Right. So for example, if I'm practicing basketball 8 hours a day, my odds of going to the NBA are, 1 in 10,000. If I'm
Hmm.
working every day for that white man, we know how the game goes, right? I'm going to work 40, 50 years of my life and maybe I have a very good chance of still dying in debt, right? Right. But
Yeah.
with you, if you're working hard every day as an investor, your
Hmm.
odds of building substantial wealth are quite high. I don't even know how much money. I'm not counting your money now, but I'd be willing to bet you that you have more wealth and more access to wealth than most people in your age group
For
because
sure.
you've taken that energy and put into investing. Can you speak to that in terms of anything? I'm not even framing it as a question. I
Hmm.
talked too long, but what is your thought on anything that I just said there?
Yeah, 100%. So let's go back to the beginning part of the question where you asked, particularly did people believe that I perceived that I was different, or were people questioning, hey, what were my motives and things like that? Like, why was I stepping away from the crowd? Because I'm not really too excited by what the average, at that point I was 18, 19, even a lot of the people that I grew up with, even they're still doing the same things at 25. Like, I'm not excited by basic things, right? Because I don't want to live a basic life. I want to live a life of abundance. And that doesn't mean go out and get lavish things, but I want to be a servant. In order to be a servant, I had to learn this skill set. So, I'm a
Mm-hmm.
real spiritual person when it comes to, and God came to me and told me, yo, this is what you're going to do and this is how you're going to do it. So he outlined and laid the plan. I just followed, right? I just stepped in and took the shot. So that was really
Mm-hmm.
my mindset was like, yo, I can't, if I want to be a servant, right? This is that like I'm serving God what I'm teaching, right? This game, right? Because these are the things that I'm doing are God-given abilities. As easy as I have it right now, it could all be taken away. So I'm very appreciative and I'm always responsible with that skill set. And early on, a lot of people didn't really understand what I was talking about. There were some individuals that listened to me about, things pertaining to the market. There, that was what kind of got me to start teaching, right? So it was a good friend of mine, Tyrone, TJ. He was a brother I met English 101 in college. Still a good friend, uh, still a good friend of me today. We spoke with him about a week ago. And I remember one of the things that he told me, he was just like my level of impact. Me and TJ, we would hang out a lot. So that was one of the people that I was very close to in college. I started teaching TJ how to actually trade. And it wasn't really like by design for me. He was just once again, you kind of become who you're around. TJ seeing me on the computer, he's seeing me reading these charts, he's interested. So TJ gets his refund check, right? TJ, once he got his refund check, it was about $5,000, $6,000. This is what I was preaching to people while I was at school. I said that $5,000 to $6,000 is not your money because either you got a subsidized loan or a unsubsidized loan from that school, and they're coining it as a refund. That's not a refund
Mm-hmm.
because that's still money. If you take and blow that money right now, unless you have a scholarship, that is money you are actually going to have to pay back. And so I taught TJ how to trade a little bit and how to invest. TJ didn't go and blow his money, his $4,000 to $6,000 refund at the mall up the street or trying to impress girls. TJ put that money in his brokerage account. He put it on some Tesla options, and TJ made
Oh,
about two to three x his return. Right, he made about two to three x.
nice.
So that was kind of like when I realized that I could start teaching. Right, so like I had a lot of people that was around me that honestly were intrigued. Right, I see a couple of people that's here on YouTube that's chiming in. I see my good brother Jahir Kabaz. Right, he was in the dorm room the first time I was ever teaching. He was actually in my dorm room. I had it to where I was have a monitor, like a screen, flat screen TV. I would plug up an HDMI cord and I would invite people over, and I would do what is called the Sunday weekly watch list. This is still a class I do 6, 7 years later, right? Where
Nice.
I do a watch list class. Now I have hundreds of people on my watch list class every week, right? And now I'm teaching people exactly this is the position to look for. Here's the reason, the
Love that.
rationale behind it. This is the reason why we're looking to take this position. We're swinging it, for the next couple of weeks, next couple of months, etc., whatever. So like a lot of people that I was around, they really, honestly, I mean, for the most part, a lot of them really, the ones that were close to me, they believed in me because I was always trying to get them the results. I'm like, yo, you got to hop on this.
Mhm.
Because there's, especially here in Atlanta, one of the things that ticks me off is, when I
Mhm.
see in Atlanta, I see young men on the corner selling water. Like, hold on, we ain't doing that, right?
Mm.
You need to be in these classes. You know,
Mhm.
that was my kind of passion. When I go to a restaurant and there's a young man that's being a host at a restaurant, he's asking me, "Hey, what do you do?" He's he's looking for the information. He's hungry. So I
Mhm.
see
Mhm.
myself in those individuals, right?
Mhm.
I see
Mhm.
myself because I was the same person. My first job when I was 12 years old was passing out flyers for that barbershop I was speaking about, right? So
Mm.
I would go passing out flyers. So you have to be, to me, this skill set is not just for me to make a ton of money from, which yes, we can trade the markets. My students, myself, we make money. I won't say we make money every day, but we make money monthly from this market to be able to help us and our families. This is where you
Mhm.
get the reparations, right? Some people is waiting on checks to come in the mail, all that good stuff. Ain't no check coming. You come and get your reparations from this stock market. That's how you're able to become better. That's how you lift your bloodline up. You come and get it from here because the companies that you spend with every day, they got profits, revenues, and you need to take part in it. You need to get some equitable ownership. You need to get some exposure. So that
Mm.
was really, I mean, those are really my thoughts in that capacity. The people around me, I give my flower. You always hear me name people because I give flowers to people that was around me that really believed in me, that really poured into me, and vice versa, back and forth. So someone like TJ, there's people like Dennis. Dennis was like the 15th person that I taught. Dennis is still with me today. Give shout out to people like RJ. These are people that I taught years ago that are now proficient. So they're able to even sometimes even teach other people, teach their family members, their friends. So that to
Mhm.
me is, the real giftedness. And I'm very reserved because I know all this could be taken away if I don't honor my gift that I was given. So that's really that's why I go hard all the time, right? So the things that I do, I'm in the gym, I'm on these charts, I'm studying. Like this is something, this. You got to continue
Yes.
to sharpen your
Yes.
sword. You can never feel like
Yes.
you're better than the market. You can never feel that
Mm.
way
No.
because every single time you got to come in here and you got to earn the right to take money out of this market. And
Uh-huh.
it's something that it is hard. It does take time. But
Mm.
with a level of discipline, right? This is where you can get the results from. So I'm always appreciative to be in a space, and to anybody that's listening here right now, this is a powerful space. You want to share this YouTube live. You want to make sure you're continuing to follow people like Dr. Boyce that's really pushing this narrative and this agenda, right? I mean, what you've done, in the community, I want to take a second to just give you your flowers, right? You're
Thank you.
someone that is very accomplished, right? Someone that's put in the time and someone that I respect at a high level. And we've had our private conversations, right? And just someone that I'm looking to seek mentorship from as well too, just to learn more. So I want to just give Dr. Boyce's flowers for a second for creating spaces like this, because this is what we need. We should be talking about this, right? We shouldn't be 10 a.m., 11 a.m. talking about what celebrity is dating this celebrity, what this, blah, blah, blah. This we don't got no time to gossip. We got time. We need to have time to get this money out of this market. That needs to be our MO. Because like you said, before I came on, right? In the market, you don't want your time decay, your theta to start to creep up on you. So what I'm telling people right now is theta is starting to get a bit higher in our community. And so that time is starting to tick. And you don't want that theta to get a little bit closer to expiration date. So we got to put in this work. We got to go into overdrive. So, yep.
Man, I loved everything you were saying. I was just listening. I was just processing. First thing I gotta do this now publicly because I forgot about it. I reached out to somebody on my team this morning. And tell me if if your schedule allows it. The you and Errol Semengal. I don't know if you know Errol Semengal. Errol might even be in the room. I'm not sure. Errol, if you're here, say something. I told them to invite you and Errol to do a breakout at the All Black National Convention on what you do as traders. But if you don't know Errol, you should know him. His great brother, 100% B1 like yourself. Errol, hit me up, Errol, because I want you to come in here and talk as well. Um, just and what I love about, so that's the first thing. And the convention is in Atlanta, August 21st to the 23rd. Saturday the 23rd is really the long day where we have all the sessions and breakouts. Everything else is that there's a ton of other events. I want everybody to know that you've literally got more options than you've ever had. And then on top of that, the Invest Fest is right down the street at the same time. So there's a lot happening in Atlanta at that time. So everybody, I hope you'll come down. Allblacknationalconvention.com. That's the URL, allblacknationalconvention.com. So if your schedule allows that, I would love for you to come in because I'd love for you to get a chance to meet our people in 3D 100% because I know they love you and I know I respect you. Second thing that you talked about that I really appreciated was you were talking about the conversations that some of us might be tempted to have versus conversations that you think we should have that are more productive. And it's like this, like you mentioned, how often. There will be people that will gather and talk about which celebrities dating who and all that. I think I saw one time where Cardi B was on a Twitter live and she was blasting her ex-husband, and I looked at the numbers. There was 100,000 people watching that Twitter live, right? And I said, "Isn't this so interesting? Because if there were 100,000 people that were sitting in on wealth conversations, we would be in a whole different position. Like, there's nothing about Cardi B's marriage or the drama of it all that's going to do anything other than get you emotionally jumpy. It's not going to put food in your children's mouths. It's not going to put a roof over your head. It's not going to give you any financial security. At best, it's going to waste your time, and you're going to, find yourself waking up to the same frustrations you had before. Well, here's the thing. Here's what I figured out about life, Lawrence, and I'd like to get your just any thoughts you have on this. It seems like in life, and this is what's important to understand, is for Black people, this is a self-esteem issue. I'm not just talking about people that might be watching the Cardi B live. I'm also talking about all the brothers that you ever see. Anybody ever seen this where you have brothers that can literally dissect in NFL teams, entire roster, the payroll, who got the contract, who's got the fifth year option, who's got the best offensive lineman. Well, the Cowboys traded with the Giants to get so and so, but they got to sign him for 30 million or whatever, right? Like you will hear brothers argue about this and talk about this as if they're actually going to get a check. Right, like you really are gonna make money when they sign that $100 million deal, and it's almost like you want to say, okay, I understand, I get it. Sports is great. I love sports, but I've never ever. I've been a Cowboys fan for a lot of years. Y'all should pray for me for that. And never once when the Cowboys have won has Jerry Jones ever sent me a check. I'm waiting on the check. He just ain't never sent it. So I might care about whether they win or lose, but I don't own it as if I'm a member of the team or that I'm a team owner. And so here's what I want to lay out for you, everybody. I want to try to lay it out in a way that everybody can see it because I want to hear what Lawrence has to say about this. It seems like in life, and this is a self-esteem exercise, a consciousness exercise. In life, you've got at least three layers of people. You've got life is a big game, and you got people that watch the game. They're not in it, they're watching, they're fans. Then you got people that are being played by the game. They're being manipulated like pawns. And then you have people that control the game. And I would say that in many cases, and I think it's a lot of it has to do with our self-esteem in terms of how valuable do I believe that I am in all this. You have a lot of our people that are either watching the game, like I can really sit down and tell you all day about how much money my favorite rapper made, but but I'm not gonna talk about how much money I made because I know I ain't gonna get nothing. But 50 Cent's got all the money, so I'm living vicariously through him. So you're either watching the game or you're being played by the game, right? Every day you go to work on the corporate plantation, the white man sends you that little check just to barely get by, but he's building generational wealth. You're being played by the game. You're being manipulated by whether it's by the politicians that they're manipulating you, the corporations they're certainly playing you, right? So we're either watching the game or being played by the game, but there's not a lot of conversation about us controlling the game or it having a stake in ownership in the outcome of the game. Do you understand? So what I like about what you're saying, man, and I'd love for you to elaborate on this. Lawrence Eggleston, that's the brother's name in case you just came in. So Lawrence, what I love about what you're saying is that what you're saying isn't just a powerful message in terms of the knowledge. It's really a message about attitude and self-worth. I am worthy of wealth. I'm not supposed to just be getting played by you. I'm not just going to sit back and watch you. I'm talking about the game that I'm playing in, and when we win this game, my family's going to eat better because we walked away victorious. And that's what I personally love about investing. I don't think anybody in this room was put on this earth to be pimped by other people or to sit back and watch the world go by. You are supposed to be participating in something that is going to have an outcome that's going to benefit you and the people you love. Am I crazy for saying that? Am I being an uppity Negro for saying this? Am I being mean? What do you think, Lawrence? Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, this is a conversation that we actually had. I want to take it back to when I was 15, 16 years old. I want to give somebody his flowers, Mr. Dana, right? So Mr. Dana was one of my core mentors. He used to get on the barbers and the barbershop and some of the clientele of like, why are we discussing this is a Cowboy fan as well, funny enough, right? So it was, one of the things he would discuss, he's like, why are we always discussing sports and other people's money? Right. Like that was that was one of the main conversations we had on a Saturday, a few Saturdays, right? And Mr. Dana challenged, right, the whole shop and said, hey, we got to shift our narrative in our conversations. Why are we talking about people that they already have their guarantees, right? They're going to be guaranteed to get 5 million, 10 million, 15 million, 20 million, et cetera, right? We're talking about people where their money has already been guaranteed. Why do we continue to have those conversations? So I think it's a distraction, right? But it's also something that's been socially integrated into our system, right? For us to be distracted by those things because they're always put in front of us in different ways through media, whether social media, through music, right? Music is a very distracting tool, especially as well within our community, because what ends up happening is you become a slave to the music, you become a slave to the media, you become a slave to all those things that to where that's what all you talk about, right? And
Mhm.
those platforms are very good at marketing, right? Those platforms are very good at marketing and they're shaping your conversations. My thing is, hey, we can enjoy those things. We can enjoy, right? We can enjoy sports, but there's like it comes a point in time you got to get back to business. That shouldn't be your end all be all. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. It's a
Right.
distraction, but when we zero in and we focus on having more productive conversations, but then also we have to lay it out. When you said something that was super important, there's 100,000 people that's listening to whatever was going on with Cardi B, right? 100,000 people. That means that's 100,000 people that are being misled and honestly being wrongfully guided. Because what happens is that when there's drama, particularly, we love to see drama naturally. We love it. Like it's like what happens is people love to really see drama. They love to see things like get dragged out. They like to see people's downfalls or things like that. So they like to listen in. Some people are listening into things to see people's downfall. And
Mhm.
it's like you should never be excited about anything negative happening to somebody else. You should never be excited or you should never, be that excited. So like I said, I think that is super, super, super duper important. And yeah, that's like those are conversations I stay away from. That's why majority of people that hang out with, my friends, people I do business with, they're all older than me. Very rarely are any of them within my age bracket because a lot of times people are, still distracted. They want to go
Mhm.
out to the clubs, you want to drink, you want to get involved in things you shouldn't get involved in. It's like, yo, get involved in this. Get involved in
Mhm.
this. Let's talk about making some money together so we can put our money together to go make some other moves. That's what's attracting to
Yes.
me. Those are conversations that I want to have. It's like, yo, how can we actually build together? Like those are the attractions. How can we build a business together? Like those are the things. How can we go buy a building together? Like those are the attractive conversations to me. And it's like you said, you have to be focused. I don't have no time for distractions, right? I'm on these charts, I'm reading, I'm in these markets. I got enough with Tariff Day. That's what I call Donald Trump, Tariff Day, right? With this guy at 12 p.m., he ain't take his medicine for the day. And he's talking about 25% to you, 25% to you, 25% to you. I got enough keeping up with him. I ain't got time to keep up with these other jokers. So tariff day. Everyone put tariff
Man,
day in the chat.
I love what you're saying about that. I mean, in terms of like what you do with your time when you're young and in your 20s. One of the biggest crimes of fake culture is they teach 20 something year olds that basically you're supposed to spend all your 20s doing stupid things and being irresponsible and not building anything. And all they're doing is they're putting you in a position where you're going to end up playing catch up for the rest of your life. Like if you sit down and you just get some mentors in their 30s and 40s and you say, well, what are your biggest regrets? They're gonna be like, I regret, messing around with chasing all these women in my 20s, wasting all my money, wasting all my time. Like what we don't understand, and this is why I think it's really important for us to have spaces where we can shape our own culture, is the 20s actually for successful people, the 20s is when you're building. That's anybody who's like a millionaire in their 40s, they wasn't wasting time in their 20s. They were grinding. They were grinding. Go look at the history, man. Look at what Barack Obama was doing in his 20s. He wasn't getting drunk at the club every night, chasing 50,000 women. He had fun, sure. Everybody has fun. But this man was studying law and trying to build his career as an attorney, politician, or whatever. He was doing what a future president does in his 20s. Even Donald Trump, let's go to the right side. When Donald Trump was 28 years old, slightly older than you, he bought a $400 million hotel. Now his daddy left him 25 million, but 25 million ain't 400 million. Right? I know a lot of people that can take 25 million and turn it into nothing. He took 25 million and he somehow was able to buy a $400 million hotel. Now, again, not to say that you should feel one way or the other about this, but what I wish a lot of people in their 20s understood is that this ain't the time to be wasting time. Right? And in fact, what's really bad is not just when you waste the time, but when you're doing things where you're digging a deeper hole for yourself. You're going deeper in debt. You're stacking up the baby's mamas, along with the STDs that go with it. Maybe you're wasting and the baby daddies, whatever. Maybe you're forming your relationship with alcoholism, which is going to haunt you for the rest of your life, right? You're doing these things that are not just counterproductive, but they are anti-productive, right? It's one thing when you're not being productive. It's another thing when you are running 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction, and then you get about 35, and then suddenly you got family and children that are dependent on you. What young people should understand is that when you're a 40-year-old man, 45-year-old man, your children are basically going to benefit or pay a penalty for the things you did in your 20s. I'm 54, so that probably sounds ancient to a 25-year-old. But I remember 25 like it was yesterday. Anybody remember 25 like it was yesterday? The time goes by fast. I told our 14-year-old, I said, you do understand that most of the things I can do for you now are a result of things I did when I was 19 years old. I said, so I visualize your existence 20 years before you even came into the planet. I didn't know what you'd look like or what your name would be or who you'd be, but I knew you were going to exist and I knew you were going to depend on me. So at 19, 20 years old, I was hustling and grinding, not just for the child I had, but for future family members that were going to need me to be able to show up for them. Can't nobody build a family when you got somebody that's 45, 50 years old and they completely broken and trying to recover from 30 years of mistakes. Don't let the culture teach you to destroy yourself. That is a myth. That's a lie straight from the depths of hell. And it's something that I think as black people, we got to fight that because we're paying a real penalty for that. Our children are suffering from that. Lawrence, I'm gonna let you get the last word. You know how I get triggered, man. This stuff, everything you're saying, I'm super proud of you because you get it, and the thing that the beauty of it is not this just that you get it, but you're helping other people to get it. You're helping that man or that woman who maybe doesn't feel confident being themselves. Maybe they feel like, well, I don't want anybody to think I'm a square or a nerd or a simp or whatever, right? And you're like, no, 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 be yourself, build that wealth, go out there, hustle, grind, build. That's where success comes from. You can't have success without sacrifice. I don't know who told these Negroes the opposite of that. So go ahead, man. I'm gonna let you get the last word because I've said way too much. Please.
Yes, sir. Nah, I mean, it's like I said, a very impactful conversation. I see we got a few hundred people here on here. I just want to take a second and really just say I appreciate everybody, for coming through today. This live, like I said, was very impactful, and I'm excited to continue to work with Dr. Boyce. And I know that we've been putting some things together here on the back end, so we got something special set up for you guys. So over the next coming weeks, we're going to have a 6-week option strategy lab. So this is going to be for people who are very ambitious, right? Very ambitious people that's looking to learn and really be able to duplicate themselves, really duplicate myself, right? So that's what I always strive to do. Anytime I teach a class, a lot of people, have been in my classes before. It's been really impactful, right? Impactful in the short term and in the long run. The information that we're able to really provide over a period of time. So we have sessions that take place in this 6-week program and masterclass that we're going to have. We're going to have sessions on Tuesday, right? Tuesday nights would be from usually around 8 p.m. EST all the way running to about 10 p.m. EST. Then as well on Wednesday, we're going to have an application day. So we don't just want to talk, right? We don't want to just have, educational sessions without having an execution part. That's one of the things that I'm big on. Anytime I step into a space is being able to teach people effectively. So I do want to thank the Black Business School again for this opportunity. I know Dr. Boyce and his team have been working hard getting this put together. It's a special shout out to Dr. Boyce and his team. You guys dropped some fires in the chat. But we also have a curriculum available too for those people that maybe say, hey, I can't make the live sessions all the time in person. We do already have some pre-recorded trainings in addition as well to the live classes that you are going to get. So who is this really for? This is for someone that's looking to learn effectively how to become a swing trader. What is a swing trader? You may hear that word swing trader and say, hey, LE, what is that? So swing trading is essentially when we're purchasing a position and we're holding it longer than a day, right? That's essentially what a swing trade is. Now, there's some swing trades we may hold for a few months. There's some swing trades we may hold for only a day, right? I see some of my students just popped in the door. We got into a Boeing position yesterday, right? So if you're looking at ticker BA today, and I know Boyce just pulled it up on the screen, Boeing, we got into a position yesterday at around 217, 218. Boeing hit 227 today. That was our target. So we focus on not just teaching you the fundamental aspect, but we also focus on teaching you effectively how to see right things from a technical aspect. So said before, this is something that, I definitely want you guys to, tap into. Super, super duper important. Would love the opportunity for you guys to join these sessions. Excited. So excited to get started on this 6-week program. As well, you asked me a question a little bit earlier. I will be at the All Black National Convention here in Atlanta. So I'm based in Atlanta, so I will be at that event. I'm very excited to speak on Saturday. So I look forward to meeting some of you guys in person, at the conclusion of this 6-week program. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny. I got so caught up in what we were talking about and so amped up about it. I forgot about to mention the class. So yeah, Lawrence is gonna do. He's gonna bless us with a 6-week swing trading masterclass, and I'm gonna put the link to the masterclass here. If For the next couple of days, you can actually get 48% off the cost, and it's lifetime access to everything that you go through. And so I'm putting the link right here. I'll also text it out to you guys. If you're not on the text list, make sure you get on the text list for this class. Text the word morning to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948. That's Money in the Morning. Our economic elevation training. And I'm going to put this link and pin it in there for those of you that want to sign up. and you've had a chance to hear from him in terms of what type of person he is. That personal integrity piece is really important. It's not just what you can do; it's why you're doing it and who you are. You know who the person is. Talent is important. But there's a lot of talented people who don't have the right mission. And what I love about Lawrence, besides the crazy fact that his nickname is the Panther, right, and that's the logo of the Black Business School, but also I like the fact that he is really shifting the culture. If you want to know the background of how I met Lawrence, and Lawrence, you feel free to add to this. But Lawrence, I was walking around InvestFest, and and different people saw me and stuff, and I was talking to people and stuff like that. And he just came up and just started talking to me, and it took me about 3 minutes to realize, okay, this young guy's different. He's really got his eye on the ball. I said, I was thinking, man, if I could clone him and make 10 million of him, then we would win. We would win this war because we are in a war. We're in a war. We're in an economic war. We're in a war for our families. We're in a war for our soul. You know that we have those that don't want to see us win, but we want to see us win. And you got and Lawrence isn't the only one. There are armies of young men and women like him that really represent tremendous hope for the next generation. They're going to run the billion-dollar, trillion-dollar companies, and he's out there. So I'm honored to partner with you, man. I'll put the link in here for anybody that wants to join. And remember, with one membership, you can bring your family. If you got kids or grandkids, stuff like that too. I know some of y'all are already in your 20s, and some of you are young. We got people of all ages here in Lawrence. But for those of you that are older, you're not too old to invest because you have people behind you that are going to benefit from the investment that you're making. Also, you've got young people you mentor, you've got children, you've got mentees, things like that. So bring them along, get them involved, let them get to meet this guy because as you can see, Lawrence is the truth. He's the real deal. And God bless you, brother. I have a lot of respect for you, man. I'm very happy to get a chance to talk to you again.
Yes, sir. Always appreciate you for your time. And shout out to everyone here. Look forward to seeing you guys in a 6 week program, as well as meeting a lot of you guys at the All Black National Convention. Excited for that here in the A. So to see you guys.
Yes, yes. Yeah. So, all right, everybody. Well, have a good day. And the link is in the chat. Also, I'll text it out to you guys later on as well. But you should see that link, and it cuts the price by 48%. So that is our special offer for those of you that are in here. And I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow as well. Have a good day, everybody, and God bless you. And good to see you, brother. Take care of yourself.
Yes, sir. Peace.